others join. So there are only 24 people. Still they're joining. Still 2 minutes is left. Others who have joined, please in a chat box you have a link for a quiz. You can please look into that. It's just 5 questions. You complete that. And as well as I'm just stressing, auto attendance is activated here.
Ma'am, send
ಏನಪ್ಪಾ
ಲಿಂಕ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್
ಲಿಂಕ್
quiz
ಇದೆಯಾ
link.
ಮ್ಯಾಮ್ ಮೇಲ್
ಇದೆಯಾ
ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್
ಒಂದ್ಸರಿ
Mail or send in WhatsApp.
ಮತ್ತೊಂದ್ಸರಿ ಹಾಕ್ತೀನಿ.
ಮ್ಯಾಮ್ ಅದು ಬರಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್ ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಕಿ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್
ಆಯ್ತಪ್ಪ ಅಟ್ ದ ಎಂಡ್ ಹಾಕ್ತೀನಿ.
Okay.
ಬಟ್ ಈಗ ಮಾಡೋರು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಇನ್ನು 1 or 2 ಮಿನಿಟ್ಸ್.
ಮೇಲ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡಿ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
ಹಾಂ ಆಯ್ತು. ಬಟ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗೆ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ರಿಡೆಂಡೆನ್ಸಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಇವತ್ತಿಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟಿರಲಿ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಟುಡೇ ಲೆಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಬಿ ಹಿಯರ್. ಫ್ರಮ್ ಟುಮಾರೋ ಐ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಟು ಮೇಲ್. ಓಕೆ. Okay, so we'll start in the last class. We have started with first module. We have started in the last 2 classes. So we have seen what is types of database and database application. We have seen data definition. What are the basic definitions of database? Then what are the typical functionalities of database we have seen, and what are the examples? So when do we call it as a database, and just an overview taking it as a university, and what are the entities, what are the example for that, how is the relationship model, all this we have just seen, had a look about the database of the university, and what are the relationship between all the entities in the university we have just have in the last classes. And we have even gone through about what are the characteristics of database approach. So one, we have seen self-describing nature of the database, then insulation between program and data abstraction, support of multiple view of database, then sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing. And we have started with a database user, and we know that for anything we have actors on the screen and actors behind the scene. So that's what we have seen. And we have seen what are the advantages of database approach, and we have even seen the additional implications of the database approach. And we have started with the historical development. When was the DBMS started? Who started? How was the initial database, and later how did it modify? What were the added technologies we have used? So object-oriented applications we have seen, and we have extended with the capacity, and when we should not use a DBMS, why, in which reasons we should not use a DBMS we have seen, and we have started with the data model. So we'll just have again, we have relooked, then we go back. So database concepts and architecture. So what is data model? So the data model, a set of concepts to describe the structure of the database and certain constraints that database should obey. So what is this data model means? A structure. So now take an example. If I say I want to create a database model for university. So what are the things I should have? So first table, in that database I'll create a student. So again in table student, what are the columns should be there? How many columns should be there in student table? And if I consider course, how many courses are there in the university? Then who is registered in which course? Which department? How many staff? So these are the different tables which are required in the university. Right? What is a data model? A set of concepts to describe the constraint of a database and certain constraints. So constraints means what? Restriction. So now USN is having a restriction. What restriction is having in a USN? Each student should have only one USN. He cannot have 2 USN at any point of time. So that is one constraint for USN. Similarly, we have some more constraints. So how many? What should be the size? If I say what is a data type, whether it should be integer, number, character, string. So that is also one constraint. So based on this, we keep doing it. That is what is a data model. Then what are the operations we concentrate on the data model? Operations for specifying database retrieval and updates by referring to the concept of data model. Operations on the data model may include basic operations and user-defined operations. So how do I retrieve data from the data model? So how do I update them? Suppose you think that I have entered 1BY 19 MCA 01. And the second one, I have again entered 1BY 18. By mistake, when I should have typed 19, I have typed 18. Now I want to update that. How should I update? So that is what operations we do it on a data model. Then we have seen about categories of data model. That is high level, high level. That is conceptual. Data model provide concepts that are close to the way many users perceive data, also called entity-based or object-based data model. So what is this entity model and object-based? So entity means, now if I say student is one entity. In student, what are the different attributes I have? Student is one entity. In student, I have one USN. In student, I have student name, a student, which subject has opted, what is his elective, what is his marks. So like this, I take different attributes for one particular entity called student. Like this, we can have any number of entities in a project. In a given project, based on that, we keep changing it. Then low level or physical, low level or internal. Data model provide concept that describe details of how data is stored in the computer. So if I say now how this is stored, so high level means we just write one ER diagram and say this is what this is a model. In this, these are the entities. For this entity, this is attribute, this is primary key. For this is a foreign key. This. So we write all this. This is a high level view. Okay, now we have done with this. Then I should know which database tool I'll be using. Whether I'll use SQL, MySQL, Oracle, MongoDB, which one. So that is what is a physical or low level. And it describes what type of data tools we are using. That is what is a low level. Then implementation or representation. Data model provide concepts that fall between the above two, balancing user view with some computer storage details. So what we do here, implementation or representation. So just in the last lab, I've showed you schema diagram. So how do the schema diagram represents? It represents how many tables are there in your database, which table is what, in that table how many columns are there, what is a primary key, little bit details will be having. So that is what is called as a schema diagram. Same way here, even in the implementation, we use little bit balancing about what is a storage, which storage I use, what type of storage I'm going to use. Those things we'll be using in the implementation part. So that's what about a concept or category of data models. Then history of data model. So which database has come in what year, who invented it. So that's what here. First was a relational model, then a network model, then hierarchical model. Relational model means from this student and department. These are the two entities in the university or database. So then how is student related, has a relationship between the course. That's what is called as a relational model. Proposed in 1970, who developed this relational model? It was developed by a E.F. Codd by a company called as a IBM. In the year 1970, he started, but the first commercial use was in the 1981 and 82. And later on, they've used the same thing for a commercial products. Like there were different tools. Just now I told it was DB2. They have used even the same relational model concept. Even in Oracle also they have used the same relational model. SQL Server, Sybase, Informix. These are the tools available in those days, and they were using all the relational model concept in developing the database. So later on, there were some disadvantages in relational model. Then they have started with one more model called as a network model. So in the network model, the first one to implement it by the Honeywell. Who developed this network model was developed by a Honeywell in the year 1965 by a system, IDS system, and adopted heavily due to the support of Codacil. So this was one company called as a Honeywell who developed this network model. Later, it was in a large variety of systems. So, and they started using, different companies started using the same network model, that is IDMS, and Unisys or HP were using, and it was calling it as an image, and digital equipment, they were calling it as a VAX DBMS. Similarly, one more model was there years back, that was called as a hierarchical data model. And how did this, who developed this? This was developed by two well-known companies. One was IBM and North American Rockwell Around. So in the year 1965, they started using this hierarchical data model. Resulted in a IMS family of a system. The most popular model, other system based on the system Y2K. And later, we were using a object-oriented data model. So you would have seen before C was there. So what was C was doing? C is a structure-oriented, whereas C++ is a object-oriented. Even in C++ also, we have to remember all commands, all functions, inbuilt function, everything. So that was very difficult. Later we have some other subject like your Java. But even Java also, nowadays you can see there are so many editors. If you have editor automatically, though for human being it is very difficult to remember huge number of built-in functions. So we have so many editors. Similarly, like this, object-oriented data model has also come into existence. Several models have been proposed for implementing in a database system. One set comprises model of persistence over programming language such as C++. Example in object store or Vercent and Smalltalk. So these were the object oriented, these tools were used, but what were used in these tools? They were using a concept called as an object oriented data model. So additionally, the systems like O2, Orion, and IRS. So these were used they were using a object-oriented data model. So along with this, they want to combine the relational model, and they gave one more new model, that's what an object relational model. So most recent trends started with the Informix Universal Server, exemplified in the latest version, that's what Oracle 10i or DB2 or Oracle Server systems. So now you can see, so what I just sent you some software, you would have downloaded that. So in that, what was a version of Oracle? Nowadays you can see what was a version of Oracle. We have a 12i, 11i, like this we have different versions. So why do we require all these different versions? Because some features would have not been there in the earlier version. To increase those features, they are giving different names. So earlier they were having a 10i, now 11i, maybe 12g, like that we have so many different versions of the same tool. Then we see what is the advantages and disadvantage of each model. So now first one, hierarchical model. Hierarchy means what? You can see, if I take an example of our BMSCT college, how do the hierarchy comes? First is principal, before principal management. So after management principal, after principal HODs, after HODs staff, under staff semesters. There will be 3 semesters, 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, like that. So even semester, odd semester. Again, in even semester, how many students will be there? In odd semester, how many students will be there? Like this is what the hierarchy for a BMSIT. Same way, even in a hierarchical model, what are the advantages and what is the disadvantage? So advantage here, hierarchical model is simple to construct and operate on a corresponding to a number of natural hierarchical organized domains. Example, assemblies in manufacturing, personal organizations in companies. Language is simple, uses construct like get, unique, get next with parent. So these are some of the advantages where you can use inbuilt function in a hierarchical model. But what were the disadvantage of having a hierarchical model? So navigational and procedural nature of the processing, but navigation from where to where, how I have to go, it will be difficult. So that's what a disadvantage of this. Then database is visualized as a linear arrangement of records. So in hierarchical model, how are the records? It was in a form of linear. Linear means what? One after the other. After one, next. After one, next. So like this, I'll be having a one after the other. So then little scope for query optimization. So what do we mean by query optimization? Means I should see to that my tables don't have redundancy and it should take very less space, as well as when I am fetching, whenever I want some data from the table, it should give the data very fast and very quickly. So that is, these advantages are not, these things which is the advantages are the main problem with the hierarchical model. So next model is network model. So what are the advantages of network model? Network model is able to model complex relationship and represent semantics of add or delete on the relationship. So what we do in this network model? So I want to add some relationship. Suppose you think that, so in BMS IT college, so we were some 5-6 years down the line, there was no civil department. But now we want to add a civil department to this. Then I have to add one more department, and one more department, how the relationship, and in that civil department first year comes. So like this, there are so many things we have to add, keep adding. So that is available in a network model. Then can handle most situations for modeling using record type and relationship type. So record type, what type of record it is? It is one-to-one, one-to-many, how it is. And what's a relationship? Cardinality relationship. What is the relationship between one table to another table? Whether this table has a primary key, whether the other table has a foreign key. Like this, we handle with the how the records are there and how the relationship between different tables, and how overall how is the relationship between the DBMS or database. So that is a advantage in a network model. So next we see about a language in navigation. Uses constructs like find member, find owner, find next within the set, get, etc. Programmers can do optimal navigation through the database. So compared to hierarchical model, here constructs means inbuilt functions. If I want something, I want to search. So then what we do, we have a keyword called as a find. Even in a word also we can do. That's what here in network model, it was very good to have a models like find member, find owner, find next. All these we are doing it. So next, moving on to a disadvantage in a network model, navigational and procedural nature of a processing. Same disadvantage what was there in hierarchical model is also with the same problem with the network model. Database contains a complex array of pointers that thread through a set of records, little scope for automated query optimization. So that's what a disadvantage of network model. So then we move on to a schema versus instances. So what do we mean by schema? Schema is complete representation of your database. So then what do we call, what is database schema? The description of database includes description of data structure and constraints that should hold on the database. So what is database schema? Database schema means what is a complete structure. So now suppose if I say university. So in university, how many students? So how many courses? So which course, which student, which lecturer teaching which subject. So like this, we represent completely, that is what is a database schema. And in case if I represent complete, then which course, each course will be having a unique number. In the same way, students will be having a unique USN number. All these are the constraints we set in the database. Then for this, we use something called as a schema diagram. So what is the schema diagram? Is a diagrammatical display of the database schema. So if I want a table, we write a table and say what is a column name. First one, USN. Next one, name of a student. Next, which semester. Next time I say, in that semester, how many subjects are there? How many labs are there? I represent in a table or a pictorial form. That is what is called as a schema diagram. Then what is schema construct? How do we construct the schema? A component of schema or an object within the schema. Example, something like student is one table, course is another table. So like this, we start drawing each table separately, and that is what is called as a schema diagram. And how do we construct? We construct through a diagram. Then what is database instance? The actual data stored in the database at a particular moment in time is called as a database instance, also called as a database state. So in the last lab, I was just showing, once we create all 5 tables, I just showed you with a keyword called as a command called as a describe student. Suppose if I take an example, we have created some tables, 5 tables we have created, and I just told after creating, for creating, we were having a command called as a create table, table name, how many columns I want in that table, what is a data type, all those we have created. That's what is called as a construct, creating a table. So after that, I use one more command called as a describe that table. What will this describe table is doing? This describe table will give me what is a column name, which is a primary key in that table, what are the data types for all the columns. If there are 3 columns, out of 3 columns, which one is a primary key? In these 3 columns, what are the data types? Whether it is a varchar, whether it is a character, whether it is an integer, whether it is a float, anything like that, we say that's what describes the table. So after describing, it is just as format of the table is created. So before I enter anything, if I use one more command called as select star from student, what it will say? It will give me no records are there. Means what? We have not entered any data into the tables. So once we use one more command called as a insert into table student, how many columns? That's what insertion command will do. Once you insert the table, then what is the database state now? One row is inserted. So that status is called as a database instance. What is a database instance? The actual data stored in the database at a particular moment in a particular time is called as a database state or occurrence. Then what is database schema versus database state? Database state refers to the content of a database at a moment in time. So what is database state? Refers to the content of database at a moment in the time. So now I have inserted one row. I may insert one more row. I may insert one more row. 5 rows are there. That is what is a database state. 5 rows are there in one table. Like this, how many tables I may have? I may have any number of tables. So how many are there? So that particular moment, how much columns are, how many rows are there? 5 tables are there. In 5 tables, all tables have the same. Like that, we say that is what is called as a database state. Initially, database state. Initially, how was the initial database? Refers to the database when it is loaded. So valid state, when do we say it is a valid? A state that satisfies the structure of the constraints of the database. When do we say valid state? When you satisfy the constraints properly. What do we mean by constraint? Constraints means limitation. Suppose if your USN is a primary key and if you enter 1BY 19 MCA 01, then you give some size also for your USN. You say 10. So within that 10 only you should enter your USN. And once if you enter 01 is 1 USN, then you cannot enter one more row with a 0 1. Means you are satisfying the constraint. Okay. Now 1 by is over. Now your name. So name also you have fixed to 50. You cannot enter beyond this 50. So that's what is called as a constraint of a database. Next we move on to a distinction. So the database schema change very frequently. The database state changes every time the database is updated. So today you have entered 2 rows. After you execute one query in your program, in query they say that how many students are there in the second semester. That details I want. Then what I have to do, I have to enter some, maybe sometimes I need to update my table. That's what, even every time the database state can be updated. When I update, my schema also may change. Schema is also called intention, whereas state is a extension. Schema is what? Intention, means inside. What is state? Outside. Because I don't know, I may update my rows. Today I have done with 5 rows. Tomorrow I can add 5 more rows. Suppose you think that in your first semester, maybe the time given for you to come back and join for the college is within 1 week. So first day 3 people, second day 5 people, another 5, third day 10 people. Like this, you come, join. That's what is an extension. So this is what is a database schema versus database state. Then how do the 3 schema architecture say? What does this 3 schema architecture says to us? Proposed to support DBMS characteristics of program data independency and support of multiple views of the data. So what is this 3 schema architecture to? It is supporting the concepts or the characteristics what we have seen in saying that program for that particular data, and it is independent or dependent. That is one approach which is being proposed by a 3 schema architecture. So next, what is a multiple view? So what is this view? So today the student's view with respect to university. Suppose if I consider what is a view of the student? Student is joined for one course. Which course? Maybe different course. So if I consider MCA student has joined for a course called as a MCA, and in which university? In VTU. In which college? BMSIT. And in BMSIT, how many staff? Like this we go. And what is the view? So your view is as a student. So me, if I say I'm a staff of which college? BMSIT. How I am related to VTU? I am a staff in BMSIT and VTU. So this is my view. And your view is student. Maybe come to HOD, maybe to principal, maybe to VC. So each one of us will be having a different views. So that is what multiple views. Then IA marks of my DBMS I can see. I cannot see complete other staff's marks. So in the same way, you can see only your mark. When you give your USN, only your view will be shown. Means your marks will be displayed once you enter your USN. So you cannot see your friend's marks unless you know some credentials of your friend or your senior or your junior. So that's how the multiple views are. So defining the 3 schema architecture, we have 3 different levels of architecture or schema. One is internal schema, conceptual schema, and the last one is a external schema. What is this internal schema? At the internal level, to describe physical storage structure and access path, typically uses a physical data model. So what is this internal schema? What is a storage? What type of data storage you are using? Whether you are using SQL, whether you are using Oracle, whether you are using DB2, whether you are using what? So that is what is called as an internal storage. That physical data. So what is the size of each table? So what is a column you are? So that is what is called as an internal schema. In the same way, conceptual schema, overall outlook of your university. Suppose if you consider in university, how many tables are there, how many columns are there, that's what is a conceptual. At the conceptual level, to describe the structure and constraints for the whole database for a community of users. Uses a conceptual or an implementation data model. Then external schema at the external level to describe the various user views, usually uses the same data model at the conceptual level. So what we do here, external schema. So what it will do, it will describe various user views. So that is what is a external schemas. Then three schema architecture, how do we map? So mapping among schema levels are needed to transform a request and data. Programs refer to an external schema and are mapped by the DBMS to the internal schema for execution. So that is what is called as a mapping. Then data independent, how is independent? How is 1 BY 19 MCA 01 is independent with 1 BY 18 MCA 01. So 18 is your senior, 19 is third semester, 18 is fifth semester. Are they dependent? No, they are not dependent on each other. One is fifth semester student, another is third semester student. But how are all these related? These students are all related to one department called as a MCA. So that's what here we see data independence. So logical data independence means what? The capacity to change the conceptual view without having to change the external schema and their application programs. So logical data means what? I just enter the details, 1 BY 19 MCA. And then I will enter, if I say I'm creating one table called for a student. So one table for student, one table for, I am not specifying whether it is third semester, fifth semester. I am just creating one table for all complete students of MCA. Then what I am doing, I will not change anything. It is common for all MCA students. Then it is logical. Third semester students will also enter. Fifth semester students will also enter. First semester students also will enter. There is no change in the student table. So that is what here the logical data independency will take care. In the same way, physical data independence. Physical means what? Memory. So the capacity to change the internal schema without having to change the conceptual schema. First, I told in my university database, student is one table, course is another table, staff is another table. Suppose if I assume these are my three tables, so I will not change. I will say that student means what? In the students, I may have 3, 4, 3, 5, 1. I'm not going to. Department, I may have MCA, I may have CS, I may have IS. So like this. The same with staff, all staff of BMSIT college. So I am not changing this. I will not touch because this diagram represents for BMSIT college. I will not touch this. Then that is what is called as a physical data independence. So how do we map them? When a schema at a lower level is changed, only the mapping between the schema and higher level schema need to be changed in the DBMS. That fully supports data independence. The higher level schema themselves are unchanged. Hence, the application programs need not be changed since they refer to the external schema. So that's what is a data independence. So what is this data independence is to us in with respect to mapping? So suppose if I change something, so it should only affect with the relationship or mapping. It should not affect internally what is there. I cannot change the data. I cannot change the student USL. So that is what is a data independency with respect to mapping. So now we move on to our DBMS language. So what are the different languages available? So now I am communicating with some language. What language I am using? I am using English. Even I can use Kannada also. So that is one type of language. Same way, even in a DBMS also, we have some languages which says to us what is a table, what is a row, what is a column, which which language I have to use to create a table, which command I have to use to select the table, select the table of data. Like this we have. So that is what is a DBMS languages. We see them one by one. One is a data definition language. What do we mean by data definition language? It just defines, it will not insert anything. These commands will define everything. That is what is called as a data definition language. Similarly, like your create. What is this create command is doing? Create table, table name, how many columns, what is a column name, what is a data type. So this will define your table. The create command will only do that much. What is a primary key? What is a reference key? This much. But the create command cannot be used to add the data into the table. So there is some more command. So this command differentiations are there. That is what one create command, insert command, select command, update command, modify command. Like this we have so many. Which one is what? That's what here we are learning in a data definition language used by a DBA. So what is DBA stands for? Database Administrator. So who will create a database? Who will create a tables? Those are being done, and those things are called as a DDL. Database designer to specify the conceptual schema of a database. In many DBMS, the DDL is also used to define internal and external schemas or views. In some DBMS, separate storage definition language and view definition language are used to define internal and external schemas. So in some DBMS, so what we are doing is there are different things. One is storage. Storage means what? Your memory. So what is how much space I have to use for this table? If I create a project, if I create a database, how much space I have to give? So what is how many tables? So that will come under a SDL in some DBMS languages. That is some tools. So there will be a separate one called as a VDL. What is this view? Viewing. I just only view. I cannot change anything. Something like select. So what is this select command will be doing? Select star from table. What it will do? You can only see what is there in the tables, but you cannot do anything. That is what select command will be doing. Same way here, view means only you can view. You cannot edit anything. That is VDL will be doing. So then we have one more thing called as a DML. So what is this DML? The first one what we saw DDL, data definition language. And next is a DML. What is DML stands for? Data manipulation language. So what is manipulation? Means what? I can edit. I want to edit something. By mistake, I have entered 1BY 19 MCA 01 as instead of Anu, I would have entered Abhilash. Something like that I have entered. I want to modify that, manipulate that. Then I'm using the commands called data manipulation language. In that we have some commands. We see them, what are they? Used to specify database retrieval and updates. So why do we use this data manipulation language? This data manipulation language is used for retrieval. Retrieval means I want what data are there, how to update them. So that I will be seeing in a data manipulation language. So what is DML commands? Data sublanguage can be embedded in a general purpose programming language. That is host language. So host language such as COBOL, C or assembly language, we use it. Data sublanguages. So that's what a DML language command. So then alternatively, we have something called as a standalone DML commands can be applied directly like a query language. So we have a query language where we use select, update, modify, select also. I want to select only USN. I want to select only names. So like this we do it. That is what is a data manipulation language. We have some more languages, that is high level and a low level, or non-procedural language and a procedural language. So non-procedural language or a high level, examples like SQL. are set oriented and specify what data to retrieve than how to retrieve, also called as a declarative language. What is a high level is also called as a non-procedural language. It is also called as a declarative language. So how it will be doing in this language, it will say what set, it specifies something like SQL. What is this SQL? Structured query language. So set oriented. Set means what? I want this third semester set of students. So I can say like that. That is what is a set oriented. Then low level or procedural language, record at a time. They specify how to retrieve data, including constructs such as looping. So in a procedure, so there is some procedure. So once if you want to join for BMSIT, you have to first go to admission office. There you have to submit all your details, which college, whether you have a CET candidate or PGCET candidate or COMEDK or management quota. Like this, we have different procedures. After that, only you will be sent to the department and they will send us the list. So this is what some procedure. Same way in this also we have our record at a time. Record means one particular record will be fetched at a one particular time. How to retrieve data, how to construct that, what are the looping, that's what is a low level you will be doing. What are the interface? Standalone query language interface. So if I'm just now you can see SQL is there in my laptop, but I'm not using interconnected. I'm just using for my practice. Then what it is? It is a standalone query language. So then programmer interface for embedding DML in a programming language. Pre-compiled approach, procedure call approach, that is subroutine. So compiler approach, already pre-built commands are there, I can use them, or subroutines, built-in functions. So that also I can use. User-friendly interface, menu-based, popular for browsing on the web. Form-based, designed for Navy users. Graphical-based, point or click, drag and drop. So the natural language, request in a written English. Combination of all the above. Now you can see we are using all these interfaces. If you go for an ATM, so what is that? You just insert your ATM card. It will ask you enter your name, PIN number. You just enter. So how it is? It is entering with respect to keywords. In the same way, once you use your smartphone, what it is doing? Clicking. Just click on, press on that particular thing. In the same way, we have some tools where you can drag and drop. So in the same way, when you create your folder, you want to copy from one place to another, you can just drag and drop. That is a graphic based. So like this, we have so many things. So suppose if you open your PPT, it is menu based. In the top, you have so many menus where there are inbuilt functions. If you want to use them, you can use it. That is what menu based. Like this, we have different approaches or interfaces in the DBMS. So other DBMS interfaces, speech as an input. Nowadays, even small kid, 3-year-old kid, if you ask him to open Google search engine, and if even the kid also will start saying something, because by recognizing the speech, the text will be recognized and it will be done. So that is what speech as input. So where it will be used? If somebody is blind and is not able to read, then what? A speech or will be system will be handled, and he'll speak out. That will be giving back. That is what even in your Google Maps also you can see. So if someone is blind, he can use, it will give you go right, go left, go straight. So that is one output thing. So that is giving you a speech direction. So web browser as an interface. So now we are using so many browsers. That becomes as one interface. Then parametric interface, example, bank teller using a functioning key. Suppose if you go for a bank, you have to stand in a queue, or instead of that, they give you a token. So that is one thing called as a parametric. The same way, interfaces for DBA. Creating account, you would have created so many accounts, account creating, then granting authorization. So once initially you will be entering your username and password. Once you enter the password, next time if you want to use, you have to use the same password. If you are not using the same password, it will say that you are not an authorized person to use your own account. So that is what a granting authorization. Then setting the system parameters. So you can set. So nowadays you can see even in your WhatsApp also, if we send some message, I want to know whether you have seen or not, blue color ticks will come. So what it says to me, I can say that, okay, you have read. But even we can change that setting saying that that will not change to blue. So that is what a setting with a system parameters. Then changing schema or a access path. So I would have stored my SQL in a C drive and I want to store my programs in D drive. I can say the path different. So that is what changing or accessing the path. Along with this, so now I told you, now for the same Google Meet, I don't want to take attendance. Automatically, it should give me. So what is a extra plugin I have added? I've added a attendance plugin into the Google Meet. Automatically, what it is doing, once you log in, so your name, your time you logged in, the time you logged off, how many minutes you were there, it will show me. One particular student was there for 40 minutes. One student was there for 50 minutes. One student was there for 38 minutes. So each and every details will be given to me by using just a attendance plugin. Same way here in database system utilities to perform certain functions such as loading, backing up, reorganizing, report generation, performance monitoring, and other functions. So these things I have to do with the database system utilities. Loading data stored in files into a database. So I will store so many files, and where I'm storing it is in a database. Includes a data conversation tool. Backing up, I see now even in our mobiles also, you can say I want a backup. How it asks me whether you want a backup for 1 day, 1 hour, every day, what. So that is what the data backup, the database periodically on the tape. How many days, whether you want in a week to automatically to take a backup. So it will be done. So that's what backup is. Reorganizing database file. I want to organize. I'll say that all first semester files should be first, next third semester, next fifth semester. I'm organizing like this. Or I can say first, fifth, then third, then first. So that's how the reorganization of the database files will be done. Then report generation utilities. So report, I may generate so many reports. That is what is called as a report generation utilities. Then performance monitoring utilities. So what is the performance? What is the performance of USN1? What is the performance of USN2? Like this, we see each student, 53 students performance in DBMS. Then I keep monitoring. I conduct a test. I see what is the marks you have scored, whether you have studied or not. So that's what a performance monitoring of the utilities what you have used. Other functions such as sorting, user monitoring, data compression, etc. Sorting, I say how is your, I want first to be sorted in a USN order. Who is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is sorting. User monitoring, now I don't have a work of taking attendance. So who will be monitoring whether which student has come, what time, what. So someone is monitoring the attendance part. Then I am free with only teaching. It is helping me. That's what user monitoring will do. Then data compression. Nowadays we have so much data and space is very less. Then what we do, we want some tools where data should be compressed so that the storage is used of flexibility or optimized. So that is data compression. What are the other tools? Data dictionary or repository used to store schema descriptions and other information such as design decision, application program description, user information, usage standards, etc. Then active data dictionary is accessed by DBMS software and users or DBA. Passive data dictionary is accessed by user or DBA only. So these are the other tools which we may use for a database. So a repository, now you can see all, earlier we were using a DSpace to store all our data. But now because you're all online, we are sending through the mails. So now Google Mail itself is one repository to send all our details. In the same way, application development environment, and we have something called as a case. So what is computer aided software engineering tools? We have some example like Power Builder, if it is a Sybase builder for a Borland. So like this, we have so many tools available to handle a different purpose, different things. For repository, we have just given you some examples. Then we move on to some other architecture called as a centralized and a client server architecture. So what is the centralized and how it is different from a client server architecture? Centralized DBMS combines everything into a single system, including DBMS software, hardware, application program, and user interface processing software. So that is what is called as a centralized DBMS. Combines everything into single system, including DBMS software, hardware, application program, and user interface processing software. So everything will be there in one place. That is what is called as a centralized. So then, what is basic client server architecture? So now you are using a Chrome. So what is this Chrome is doing? Chrome will be having everything, your mails, everything will be in one place, where in a server. We are using only Chrome to log in and log out. So then what type of architecture it is? It is client server architecture. So specialized server with specialized functions, clients, DBMS server. That is what is a basic client server architecture. Then specialized server with specialized function, file server, print server, web server, email server. Like this specialized servers. One is for file server. I want to transfer a file, Word file, PPT file, one from I'll send a mail. I want to send my notes to each one of you. Then what type of server I am using? I am using a file server. Then I want to take a printout. Then I use a print server. I'm using now Google Meet to handle the class. What type of server I'm using? I'm using a web server. And I want to send a communication, or I want to send a link, Google link to everyone. What I'm using? I'm using a mail server. So these are some of the specialized servers with the specialized function. So I'll stop here and continue in the next class. Thank you. So any doubts, you can ask me. Any doubts?
Quiz link.
Yeah.